Hey students, second part of this video is going to cover finding trig values given an angle. So here it says, given a point on a unit circle, find the exact value of all 6 trigonometric functions. Ignore this cosine theta, we're going to find that too, but it says find the exact value of all 6 trigonometric functions. So what we're given is an angle seemingly negative because it goes backwards. And remember, so the x is 4 and the y is negative 2 square root 5. So we need to find the hypotenuse. So we're going to do 4 squared plus negative 2 square root 5 squared equals the hypotenuse squared. That is 16 plus, all right, so the way we square square root, so 2 square root 5 squared, you square the outside, excuse me. So we square the outside, that's going to be 4, and you square the square root, so that's going to be 4 times 5, which equals 20. So 16 plus 20 equals h squared. So we get 36 equals h squared, so h equals 6. Hypotenuse is always going to be positive, never negative. H equals 6. So we're going to put a 6 right here. So now if this is our angle theta, then we know sine from geometry, we know sine theta is equal to the opposite side, so negative 2 square root 5 divided by 6 simplifies to be negative square root 5 over 3. Cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse, so 4 divided by 6 simplifies to be 2/3. Tangent theta is going to be opposite, so negative 2 square root 5 divided by 4, or negative square root 5 divided by 2. Cosecant, remember cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, so that's going to be negative 3 divided by the square root of 5. If you want to rationalize your denominator, that's going to be negative 3 square root 5 divided by 5. I don't care if you give me that answer. It's the same. Secant theta is going to be 3 divided by 2. And cotangent theta is going to equal negative 2 divided by the square root of 5, or negative 2 square root 5 divided by 5. However you want to think about it. All right, so that's it. We used Pythagorean theorem to get the hypotenuse, and then we wrote our 6 trig values. So for number 6, we have to find the other 5 trig values, knowing that sine theta is negative 7 divided by 9, and cosine theta is less than 0. So where is sine negative and cosine also negative? That's going to happen in quadrant 3, where cosine is less than 0 and sine is less than 0. So we draw our angle. We'll say theta is over here somewhere. We get, so since sine is negative 7 over 9, we know the y is negative 7. We know the hypotenuse is 9. So let's find our x. So we'll say x squared plus negative 7 squared is 49. So x squared plus 49 equals 81. X squared equals 81 minus 49 is 32. So x is going to equal the square root of 32. If you want to simplify that, that is the square root of 16 times the square root of 2, which is 4 square root 2. So that side is 4 square root 2. But remember, it's negative because it's, cosine is less than 0. So negative 4 square root 2. So we'll just do plus and minus here. So now we know sine theta already. So cosine theta is going to be negative 4 square root 2 divided by 9. Tangent theta is going to be, so again, this is our angle theta. So we're going to get negative 7 divided by negative 4 square root 2. I know you're thinking, Mr. Mark, you living dangerously. iPad's about to die. We're good. So that's going to be the same as 7 square root 2 divided by 8. if you rationalize the denominator, again, I don't care if you actually leave it like that. Let's see, cosecant theta is going to be the reciprocal of sine, so -9 divided by 7. Secant theta is the reciprocal of cosine, so that's 9 divided by -4 square root 2, which if you multiply by the square root of 2, you get 9 square root 2 divided by 2 times 2 is square root 2 times square root 2 is 2, so divided by -8. And then we ran out of room, so we'll just put cotangent over here. So cotangent theta is negative, it's the reciprocal, so -4 square root 2 divided by -7. Those negatives just divide to make a +1. So +4 square root 2 divided by 7. All right, so that's the trig values using a point or being given a trig value. Again, I apologize for that heater in the background. It's kind of noisy. All right, so then for 7, we have to find the amplitude, the period in radians, the phase shift in radians, and the vertical shift. Then we need to sketch the graph using radians. Now we're not going to do that. We're not going to sketch the graph. We're just going to make a table of the 5 key values of the fundamental period. All right, so 1, the amplitude is the number that's in the front. So in this case, the amplitude is 1/2. The phase shift is pi over 3 radians to the right. The graph shifts right because the value is negative. The period, so the period is 2 pi divided by this value, 4. So it's 2 pi divided by 4, which is pi divided by 2. So now we need to, and the vertical shift is down 2. So let's see, can we slide in a table? So now if our period is pi over 2, then our quarter period is pi over 2 divided by 4 is pi divided by 8. So that means from our phase shift value, we need to just add pi over 8. So on our table, the first value that we have is pi over 3. So we're going to have pi divided by 3 is our first value. Now, a lot of this is just fraction stuff at this point. So now we're doing pi over 3 plus pi over 8. Now, if you find in the common denominator, that's going to be what in terms of 24. So that's going to be the same as 8 pi over 24 plus 3 pi over 24. So now just remember, now from henceforth, we're going to keep this in terms of pi over 24 until we simplify. So that's 11 pi divided by 24. So our next angle is 11 pi divided by 24. If we add 3 pi over 24 again, so we're just adding pi over 8, which is 3 pi over 24. We're going to get 14 pi divided by 24. We're going to get 17 pi divided by 24. And we're going to get 20 pi divided by 24. Simplify the ones you can. So 14 pi over 24 is going to be 7 pi over 12. That one stays the same. 20 pi over 24. 4 divides into both of those. So we get 5 pi divided by 6. All right. So next, remember the table for sine is 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. So what we need to do is multiply by 1/2 and then subtract 2. So 1/2 times 0. So we're going to get 0. Then we subtract 2. We get -2. So that's going to be -2. 1/2 times 1 is 1/2 minus 2 is -3/2. So we get -3/2. That one's going to be -2. So then, so we get 0 and -2. 1/2 times -1 is -1/2. Minus 2 is going to be -5/2. So -5/2. And then the last one is going to be -2. All right, so that is our table of values. You get pi over 3, -2, and so forth. So again, we follow that pattern of how sine is given for the fundamental period, 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. For 8, we have 3 cosine 8 theta plus 2 pi. So the first thing we want is to get this in the form that it looks like the sine, where we take this number out on the inside. So we get 3 cosine, and we can factor out an 8, and that's going to leave you with pi plus, I'm sorry, not pi, theta plus pi divided by 4. So if we were to redistribute the 8, we would get 8 pi plus 2 pi. It's the same thing. So now our amplitude is equal to 3. The phase shift is pi over 4 left. The period is 2 pi divided by 3, and we actually don't need to simplify that. So the period is 2 pi over 3, and the quarter period is 2 pi divided by 3 divided by 4. So that's 2 pi divided by 3 all divided by 4, which is 2 pi divided by 12, or pi divided by 6. So on our table, we can write the table in a different way this time. So we'll put our theta values, and then we'll put our cosine values. So then we'll do 3 cosine 8 theta plus 2 pi plus 5. So all of that is what's going in the bottom. Oh, I'm sorry, we forgot the vertical shift. Vertical shift is 5 up. So remember, the first value of the fundamental period is always your phase shift. So we're going to start at pi over 4. That's our first value. So now we just need to do one calculation. We need to do pi. We'll separate this. So we'll do pi over 4 plus pi over 6, because that's our quarter period, right? So pi over 4, so common denominator of 12, that's 3 pi over 12 plus 2 pi over 12. So that's 5 pi over 12. So the next value is 5 pi divided by 12. And subsequently, we're always adding 2 pi over 12. So now we're going to get 7 pi divided by 12. We're going to get 9 pi divided by 12. And we're going to get 11 pi divided by 12. And the only one that simplifies is the pi over 12, which is going to 9 pi over 12, which simplifies to be 3 pi divided by 4. And so cosine, remember cosine is the table for cosine. The original table is 1, 0, -1, 0, and 1. So what we need to do is multiply by 3 and add 5. So we're going to multiply by 3, add 5, 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 multiply by 3, and add 5. So we're going to get 8, 5, 2, 5, and 8. All right, so that seems like a good stopping point for this video, so I can go and charge my iPad